Hello, Internet. It's an absolute pleasure having you with us today. This is week 3 of But You Promised on our Elevate online experience. At Elevate Church, we love having you joining us every week. If you want the notifications that we're on, how about subscribing to our channel so you get the notifications during the week? Maybe sharing our channels with a family or a friend that you think may be interested. Today's beautiful worship partner is Highlands Worship, coming all the way from Alabama. The words are on the screen, so maybe join in from home.
To see. Oh God, I will praise you. Magnificent with grace unending, you rescue us with love that never fails. Oh God, I will praise you. Like the Lord, strong in battle. Who is like the Lord, mighty to save? Who is like the Lord, King forever? Jesus reigns, Jesus reigns. You are always with me. Your presence goes before and goes behind. Oh God, I will praise you. Who is like the Lord, strong in battle? Who is like the Lord, mighty to save? Who is like the Lord, King forever? Jesus reigns, Jesus reigns. Who is like the Lord, strong in battle? Who is like the Lord, mighty to save? Who is like the Lord, King forever? Jesus reigns, Jesus reigns. You reign in all the earth, you reign in all the heavens. You're holy, you're seated on the throne. Nothing can stand against you. You're holy, you reign in all the earth, you reign in all the heavens. You're holy, and I won't stop singing. Oh, oh, oh. The Savior crucified, the way, the truth, and life. Jesus, you're the resurrected King, the one who came to save when I was far away. Jesus, I'm amazed you love me. Jesus, I'm amazed you love me. Oh, Jesus, I'm amazed you love me. You are the song in my heart, and I can't stop singing. Oh, you put this love in my heart, and I won't stop singing. Oh, melodies of praise are rising up to you, God. Oh, lifting up my hands, I'll sing with all I am, God. Oh, melodies of praise are rising up to you, God. Oh, lifting up my hands, I'll sing with all I am, God. Oh, you are the song in my heart, and I can't stop singing. Oh, you put this love in my heart, and I won't stop singing. Oh, melodies of praise are rising up to you, God. Oh, lifting up my hands, I'll sing with all I am, God. Melodies of praise are rising up to you, God. Oh, lifting up my hands, I'll sing with all I am, God. Oh,
Today, guys, is week 3 of But You Promised. It's taken by our very own Pastor Mark Pomeroy.
Well, hey there, Elevate friends and family. Great to have you with us today. Now, has anybody out there done any home renovation projects in the last year? You know, maybe given a room or some rooms a fresh coat of paint, maybe installed some smart appliances or devices. Not sure they qualify as renovation, but anyway, maybe even something a bit more ambitious like a kitchen or a bathroom renovation. For us at our home, we've been doing some renovation projects over the last few years. And look, the ones that excite me and have excited me the most are the ones that you can see and that you really experience the benefits. You know, we put in a shiny new kitchen, great, a light, airy new bathroom, fantastic. We designed a nice outdoor living space. Great, you know, those things. And as we use them and enjoy them and have friends over and our Elevate group and family, everyone wins. But then there's this other category of home renovation projects, which we've done some of, and they just don't spin my propellers as much. And I'm talking about the ones that are essentially invisible, the ones that when people come around, they don't even know that you've done these things. When you walk through your own home, you sort of forget. You know, the house that we purchased several years ago was originally built in 1950. And our electricians discovered that the wiring system was essentially from back then. And so in order to sign off on the renovations that we've done across the home, they had to do a whole new wiring setup. $3,500, Mark, that's all. Great. Yeah, okay, well, I guess if we have to do it, then we have to do it. Boring. I'm going to come back to that. We've launched this series a couple of weeks ago called But You Promised, and we've just been exploring and peeling back some of the promises that Jesus specifically made to people who follow him. The first week, we looked at the promise that Jesus wants us, you and me, to hear his voice. The second week, which was last week, we talked about the reality that Jesus wants to give us peace. Now, you can go back and watch them on this channel or go to our podcast, search Elevate Church Perth on your preferred podcast app or platform, and listen to those and catch up. Absolutely brilliant. And what you'll discover is there was two specific things that were kind of broad, large themes through the weeks of this series so far. The first one is this centrality of God's word when it comes to both hearing his voice and having peace. And then this idea that storms are universal. Storms are things that we can all experience and do all experience, and how to navigate those. And so I want to kind of fold those into today's message and teach on this promise that Jesus wants us to experience his promises. And big spoiler, the key word here is experience. So grab your smartphone, scan this flow code. It's going to take you to Matthew chapter 7. Now, Matthew's one of Jesus' first followers, handpicked followers. He's one of the 4 biographers who we have an account of Jesus' life and ministry. This is going to take you to chapter 7, and I'm going to drop us into the end of chapter 7. Now, here's the context. Jesus had just finished preaching what we've come to learn or know as the Sermon on the Mount. Big brain Bible people have kind of figured that this wasn't just a one-off sermon or message that Jesus preached. It was probably his go-to, and he would go and he'd preach this kind of collection of, well, what now have come to be essentially his greatest hits. And in fact, Matthew records 19 slices of teaching, 19 of Jesus' bangers that he taught, packaged together under this heading of the Sermon on the Mount. Things that include how to be salt and light, the importance of loving our enemies, how to pray, how we ought to manage money and finances from a kingdom perspective. And Matthew records that at the end of Jesus' teaching this Sermon on the Mount, that the crowds were amazed at his teaching. And so it could be easy to conclude that Jesus got to the end of these 19 greatest hits. The crowd was amazed. And Jesus says to them, listen, well, now that you know all this, you're good. Drops the mic, steps away. But actually, the last thing he said in this Sermon on the Mount, the end of these 19 greatest hits bundled together, is this. Anyone who listens to my teaching and follows it. Now, straight off the bat, those are not the same things, and one doesn't automatically lead to the other. We have to decide to do both in that order. Listen to my teaching and follows it is wise, like a person who builds a house on solid rock. Though rain comes in torrents and the floodwaters rise and the winds beat against that house, it won't collapse because it's built on bedrock. But anyone who hears my teaching and doesn't obey it is foolish. Like a person who builds a house on sand. When the rains and the floods come and the winds beat against the house, it will collapse with a mighty crash. Now, this idea of houses crashing and falling down, it's not new. I mean, I learned about this when I was a kid, when I learned the story of the three little pigs. You know, these three pigs who each made a house. The first one made a house out of straw. The second one made a house out of sticks. And the third one made a house out of bricks. And then a wolf came along and said, little pig, let me in. Started with the straw house, then the stick house, and then the brick house. And in each case, the pig replied, not by the hair of my chinny chin chin. And the wolf said, well, I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house down. Well, the wolf was successful with the straw house, blew it down. Successful with the stick house, blew it down, but was not successful with the brick house. Now, I'm not suggesting Jesus was contradicting the author of the Three Little Pigs story, or the Three Little Pigs story was trying to pick a fight with Jesus teaching the story of these two houses. I mean, the moral of the story with the three little pigs, at least I think the moral of the story is, don't take shortcuts, work hard. Don't just do the easy stuff, straw house, stick house. But actually, did you know that even houses built with bricks can be destroyed if their foundation is off? See, in Jesus' story, these two home builders had practically everything in common. Same house, same storm. You know, so the storm wasn't actually the differentiating factor. The differentiating factor was the foundation, and all the storm did was reveal the point of vulnerability. Now, I've come to learn in our renovation projects a thing or two about foundations, which initially you might not realize are off or vulnerable, but there's some signs, and they don't always appear first in the foundations. One sign is cracks in the walls. Another sign is your floor starting to become uneven. And another sign that your foundation might be vulnerable is doors that used to open and close easily now start to be quite difficult. And the same is true in our lives. If you're starting to see some cracks appearing that weren't there before, maybe it's time to check your foundation. If things that used to be smooth and easy as you walk through life are now bumpy and turbulent and rocky, maybe it's time to address your foundation. If maybe things that used to be easier than they are now, maybe it's time to examine your foundation. Now, some people, when they hear this story that Jesus teaches about building your house on a rock versus building your house on sand wrongly conclude that Jesus is talking about whether to decide to follow him and make him your Lord or not. Make him your Lord, that's building your house on a rock. Don't make him your Lord and put your faith in him and follow him. That's building your house on sand. Now, deciding to make Jesus your Lord, to trust in him, put your faith in him, is the most important decision any one of us can ever make. But Jesus' story about the two houses was not actually addressed to two audiences of followers versus not followers. In fact, it was addressed to followers, because at the end of it, and Luke records this same Sermon on the Mount in his biography, Jesus at the end said, "Why do you call me Lord, Lord?" Meaning, you've already put your faith in me. You said that I'm who I say I am, the Son of God. But do not do what I say. And at this point, what this reveals is that making Jesus our Lord will allow us and cause us to experience his promise of salvation, which is the most important gift we can ever receive from him, the most important promise we can ever take hold of from him. However, it alone won't cause us to experience all of the other incredible promises that Jesus makes that are available to us while we're here on earth. So here's a big boy question, a big girl question. Buckle up, you ready for this? Is there an area or areas that you've been instructed by Jesus? You've read in his word, he says, do this, but you've yet to put it into practice. Well, as you ponder that question, let me read this story again from the Message version. These words I speak to you are not incidental additions to your life, homeowner improvements to your standard of living. They are foundational words to build a life on. And if you work this, now, by the way, here's the key, if it's not automatic, it requires another decision. Listen and then apply. If you work these words into your life, you're like a smart carpenter who built his house on solid rock. Rain poured down, the river flooded, a tornado hit, but nothing moved the house. It was fixed to the rock. But if you just use my words in Bible studies and don't work them into your life, you're like a stupid carpenter. Yeah, Jesus said stupid. I'll come back to that. Who built his house on the sandy beach, and when a storm rolled in and the waves came up, it collapsed like a house of cards. Again, Jesus is making the incredibly vital distinction between listening and learning about him and his promises and his instruction, and then the next decision to put them into practice. And what too many people do is they learn and they think that learning is the end game. Wow, I know this now. Wow, ooh, wow, okay. For example, this word that Jesus used, stupid, like a stupid carpenter who built their house on the sandy beach. The original Greek word, which a lot of people like to geek out on Greek, is moros, which we get our word moron. So let's say you show up to your Elevate group this week and we're studying out this message and this chapter and this story. And you go, hey, listen. Did you hear what Mark had to say? He said that the word stupid, which I can't believe Jesus used, but he did. It comes from the original Greek word moros, and that means moron. How fantastic. All right, good night. See you later. See you next week. If that's all you do, just like flash what you've learned from Jesus around in Bible studies, Elevate groups, guess what? You're the moron. Yeah. So what we need to do is be people who are committed to journeying across the knowing, doing bridge. See, knowing is where we encounter the promises of God. Doing is where we experience the promises of God. So it's absolutely critical that we position ourselves to learn, to encounter the promises of God, to actually know what they are, what's being offered to us, what the gifts that are being placed in front of us. And yet, in order to experience them, we have to move beyond knowing into doing. Information doesn't automatically lead to transformation. It's actually the application of information that leads to transformation. And I'm sad to report, not everybody crosses the knowing, doing bridge. I'm sad to report that I have lost count of the number of times that I've heard people tell me specifically about something that God's instructed them to do, and then just to watch them not do it. And I don't judge them, but I'm like, he had something on the other side of the bridge for you, some incredible promise that he wanted you to experience, but because you failed to cross the bridge, you didn't get to experience that. And potentially the people that he wanted you to bless and influence and impact, well, they didn't get to experience it all. And that's just a real tragedy. So why don't people cross the knowing, doing bridge? Well, one is we just get busy or distracted. Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot. Okay, well, now that you remembered that you forgot, let's go. Another one is it's easier to know than to do. Can we just be honest about that? It's easier to know that we should love our enemies than it is to actually love our enemies. It's easier to know that we should place God first in our finances by giving into the local church, but when it comes payday, it's easy to know that we shouldn't judge, but that person. It's easy to know we should forgive, but you don't know what they did to me. And then there's this just very simple, honest fact that sometimes we don't yet have the faith to do what God calls us to do. But even in that one, there's an incredible paradox, is we only increase in faith when we actually allow God to demonstrate himself faithful in an area or in a way that we've never exposed ourselves to before. So if we just stay in our little comfortable, familiar, bubble-wrapped, shrunk-wrapped side of the knowing bridge, then that's literally the cap on our faith. That's literally the cap of the experiences that we're going to have when it comes to God's promises. But crossing the knowing, doing bridge is when and where we will start to experience God's promises. So I'm going to come back to that big boy, big girl question again. Is there an area or areas that Jesus has called you to, has instructed you to, is calling you to, that for whatever reason, you've yet to actually cross the knowing, doing bridge and start doing it? Serving. Have you not yet joined an Elevate team? Well, come on, people, let's go. Have you not started giving financially? Well, come on. Have you not yet forgiven that person? Well, it's actually doing more damage to you than it is to them. And that list could continue to go on, and I can't even answer that for you. But if there's something, as we wrap this series today, can I strongly recommend, encourage, heck, I would even like to insist that you cross the knowing, doing bridge, because you will experience God's promises on the other side.
Thank you so much for joining us today, guys. If you'd like us to reach and build into people just like you all over the world, the ways to give can be found just below. Until then, guys, have a blessed week, and we look forward to seeing you next time.